The future of our workforce isn't just written in boardrooms or factories, but in the universities, classrooms, and various forums, as well as in the minds of education leaders. They are the real visionaries who are pushing the boundaries in terms of creating the right set of talent, skills for the future professionals. In this series, Shaping Tomorrow, we honor them. We speak to various vice chancellors, deans, academic heads, and career services heads to understand how they are reshaping the higher education landscape and creating the future talent workforce. Join us as we uncover how they are transforming higher education to meet the needs of tomorrow, because shaping minds today means shaping the future workforce, one that is ready for the challenges of tomorrow. This is not just a conversation about education. This is a conversation about the future. And in this inaugural series, we cover the Middle East region, starting with the United Arab Emirates. Welcome to Shaping Tomorrow by Board Infinity. Welcome to Shaping Tomorrow by Board Infinity. We are very glad to have you here, Uzma, and I know that you are one of those few individuals in the academic system where you came with extremely strong corporate background, and and your passion for teaching made you join as an instructor in a couple of universities here, and right now you're working with Murdoch, and more importantly, you're helping students becoming more and more employable. I think it would be great for viewers to hear more from yourself.
Thank you so much for having me here. It is indeed a privilege to be able to work in a university as a faculty and to be able to transfer years of knowledge and insights that we have gathered through our work to the youth. They are going to be driving the world forward. So I think it is a wonderful honor for all of us to be able to help our youth develop themselves in a direction that is going to take the professional world in the right direction. Just a bit of an introduction about myself. I have over 2 decades of international and UAE grounded experience in a variety of industries. I worked in education management, higher education institutions, healthcare, hospital management, philanthropy, oil and gas sector, as well as in the government as well. So I'm very glad that we're getting to chat today, whereby we can talk about different prospects that there are for our students, and hopefully our audience will be able to learn and pick up some of the insights that we discuss today.
So let me start with asking a simple question. What motivated you to come into the academia world?
Well, you see, I started off my career as an electrical engineer, and then I did my master's in information systems, while the focus of my master's was on HR applications. And as I learned more and more about human resources, I became really drawn towards the idea of how human beings can be leveraged to become better versions of themselves. I'm currently doing my doctorate in human resource development from University of Illinois. And again, all of that is really trying to understand what is it that we can do in order to be highly developed, highly efficient human beings, right? So it's really the aspect of empowering humans, offering them the opportunity whereby they can contribute in the most effective ways, that has led me towards academia. I feel that all the experience that I've gained, if I don't pass it on, if I don't transfer that to the new generation, I'm not sure if I'm doing full justice to that learning. So that's driven me towards academia. As much as I've loved my work in the corporate sector, I feel extremely fulfilled and satisfied when I'm working with the students And the students enjoy talking to me as well in the classroom and outside. And that's really a big takeaway for me every single day.
Great. Tell us a little bit more about your current role as an employability and partnership support advisor for Murdoch.
So, as part of our current role in partnerships, in the area of partnerships with employers and supporting students with employability, we are constantly seeking ways by which we can help our students become employable, right? So, one of the biggest outcomes of success in a higher education institution is, are the students getting the jobs? Are they thriving once they get the job? Right? And it's not just their first assignment, but it is really as they move from one job to the second, as they move on from one industry to the other. So in our discussion with the students, we continue to focus on helping students develop their technical skills on one hand, but remain mindful of the need to enhance and enrich their employability skills. Skills that are going to, make them employable within an evolving world of work. And the world of work is becoming very competitive because we are really working in a highly globalized, highly interconnected work environment. So students need to be able to communicate very well. They need to be on top of their ability to write quickly, the ability to speak eloquently. Their interpersonal effectiveness is extremely important. Can they work within teams? Do they have the leadership potential? Are they critical thinkers? And are they problem solvers and so on? So all of that is really brought in our programs that we design for our students to help them become employable and in turn build stronger partnerships with the employment market. Because if the students are doing well, then employers are interested in them.
In hiring them, correct.
Right. So there's a very direct connection between the two. And we feel the two have to go in tandem. So that's what we focus on.
Great. And very specifically with respect to students, right? And if you really look at the core challenges that you face, what would be those one or two top challenges in getting students become employable? I mean, there should be, some things are like cakewalk, some things are hard. So what are those one or two challenges that you have seen interacting and working with students?
I think language proficiency is a big part. Students who may be coming from countries where English is not their first language of instruction. They dabble with, explaining what they actually did as part of their internship experience or their job experience. Their ability to write also get affected. So I would say language proficiency is very, very important. And the other thing is digital literacy. Again, it is something that the students will have to constantly develop. Right? So we have learning management systems. We have other education tools that tech tools that we use in the university to, and not just in Murdoch but also in previous universities that I've worked for. And our emphasis is really to help our students become literate when it comes to technology. So they should be able to conduct themselves professionally when they are in a meeting on Zoom or Teams, right, or Google Meets. They should be able to share document. They should be able to use the chat effectively, and so on and so forth. Right? And there's so many tools out there that the students need to be comfortable with very quickly. Right? So those are the two key areas where I feel that we pay a lot of attention, and we feel that students need to work hard or harder to be able to be proficient in those two areas.
Now, as a practice, do you track employability and see how students are performing right out of college, or do you do that over a period of 12 months? Do you track these students over a period of time?
This is a very interesting question, and we have started to do that very recently. And it's very important for us to be able to see how our students are getting jobs. Are they getting the jobs quickly. And then we work closely with the employers to really get feedback on how well the students have been performing, whether it is an internship or it is full-time work. We really want to know, do they have the etiquettes to conduct themselves and position themselves? And we teach them about etiquettes as well. And not just etiquettes in person, but your netiquettes as well. How are you carrying yourself on the net when somebody may not be able to see you, but it's really your tone. It's the choice of words, right? How you deal with conflict situations. So all of these are very important, and it's through our partnerships with employers. It's really taking feedback from our alumni, right? It's really going back to our students who are saying, if you've been able to get the internship, let us know how your experience was, right? So we have begun to gather that data, and we are formulating several different types of databases, whereby we are gathering information from the students and the employers and the alumni, so that we have some kind of trends, and we can analyze the data to see how well our students are being employed. And of course, it varies from one discipline to the other. So psychology students, for example, would have a harder time finding jobs.
Right.
Marketing students or communication students in general find jobs much more easily, right? IT students have to be really good in their craft, their ability to program, their ability to work with a number of databases, their ability to be comfortable with a large repertoire of technological solutions, right? So depending on the discipline that you are in, students face different opportunities and challenges, right? So that's also something that we try and track and cover as much as possible. But it is really a journey, and there's lots of work that still needs to be done. So hopefully with a lot of partnerships and collaborations within and outside the university, we would be able to get the data that we need.
Great. And what are some of the trends that you are seeing in the employer side in terms of their demand, in terms of absorbing students? And do you think it's reasonable, because you've been on the other side, do you think it's very reasonable that they ask for these demands from the students in terms of skills? And if so, what are some of those things that are being done to make sure this is being delivered to them as well?
It is very reasonable for employers to expect students or graduates to be job ready, right? Because once you are in the business environment, it really doesn't matter who you are, whether you are a fresh graduate or a student doing the internship, you really need to deliver, right? The employer will have their customers, will have critical projects that they're working on with time demands and interdisciplinary teams. So the expectation is spot on. How we are preparing our students is something that we are really focused on. And again, what we do, we're actually doing a number of things at the same time. So one thing that we are really focusing on, and that's something that we focused on in my previous organization as well, is making sure that the students get application-oriented learning.
Okay.
Right. So we're really talking about active learning strategies, such as introducing case studies in the classroom, helping students get their hands dirty with project work, right? Even lab simulations, because it's very important that the students not only have very strong theoretical foundation, they should also be able to take that
They have to do things.
foundation and do things.
Yeah.
Right? Because it doesn't matter how much you know theoretically. What really matters in the workplace is, can you do the job? Are you a problem solver? Right? Can you really create value for the organization? So that transition is extremely important for us. And we do that in the classroom as part of our curriculum design. And we also do that outside the classroom. So for example, we get guest speakers coming to the campus Every trimester, we have guest speaker sessions, and students interact with the guest speaker. They network with the guest speaker so that they know there's this person working for this organization, so that if they are applying for that organization in the future, they know there's somebody they knew, right? So helping students network, build connections with industry leaders, getting to know what's really are the best practices out there in a particular field. All of that comes from industry partnerships. Right, so those are the other things that we are focusing on. Other than that, we do trainings within the campus. I offer trainings every trimester.
This is employability trainings?
Absolutely. So we will do training on how do you create your digital brand. I would do a training on how can you actually craft your CV so that it stands out. I would do training on netiquettes. So netiquettes is a big thing for us. How do you conduct in yourself? How do you position yourself? Things like that. Entrepreneurship is also something that's big. So, I would conduct trainings on that. And I would collaborate with a lot of other people in order to provide knowledge to the students, which is firsthand. For example, our alumni. So we do discussion forums with our alumni, bring them back on the campus. We'll actually do it in the library, whereby the students can interact with them freely, without any formality, without getting uncomfortable, so that students can ask questions that are very close to their heart. Right? How did you get the job? What helped you most? What are some of the challenges that you face? How are you building your technical skill set? All of those questions are very discipline focused. Right. I'm also actually working on a research paper with my colleague in the university, and we are really we have conducted a literature review on employability in the UAE in particular, and we are trying to see what are some of the things that have worked for international students.
It will be very interesting to learn more about it, because I've been seeing there are a set of students who don't struggle, and there are a set of students who actually struggle to get employable, right? And knowing the fact that UAE, the education is not that cheap, especially for international students, they have to become employable, and it becomes slightly more important that they get the jobs faster, right? So it will be interesting to know more about the research.
Yeah. And again, research is very important because it helps us benchmark. Right. Not just with the local market, but also with the global market. Because many students who graduate in the UAE may not be working in the UAE. They may be looking for jobs in North America, for example. So it's very competitive for them. And we need to be able to provide our students with the skills that will help them become employable in the areas that they are passionate about, in the regions that they are interested to live in.
So it's a very interesting thing. Now, you were saying that the ownership of the career is on the student, right, more or less, and you do bring in companies as well. Now, if we start individualizing or personalizing the whole process for students, they would have multiple requirements, multiple regions, geography. How do you kind of manage this set of expectations?
So, we wouldn't say that the ownership of career is only on the student.
Okay, so you're saying it's a co-owned.
It's a shared
Okay.
responsibility. We have to provide a lot of hand-holding to the students. I can give you example of Murdoch University in particular. They have a fantastic program whereby students have to do a certain number of mandatory courses which helps them with their careers. So these are career learning courses.
Okay.
And I've taught some of those courses as well. And so it really helps the students learn how to manage their career. Right? And within that, we really introduce the massive online courses like Coursera, edX, Future Learn, and so on, so that students are constantly seeking ways by which they are building their credentials gradually. Right? We call it micro credentialing.
Right.
So they take baby steps all along their life, not just while they're completing their education, but after that as well. They're gradually building their skills using the courses or the tools that may be available to them. And also, there's also a course which is called as Building Employability Skills. It's a fantastic course. It really talks about 9 critical skills that students need to build on. So, for example, creative thinking, critical thinking, their communication skills, leadership potential, and so on. So there are 9 of them. And we focus on each one of them. But we make connections with what is it that the World Economic Forum is saying, right? So the World Economic Forum they publish a report every year, and they are making predictions about what the jobs of tomorrow would look like. And consequently, what skill sets our students need to have, right? So if the jobs of tomorrow are very focused on digitalized processes, right? What kind of skills our students need to have in order to be ready for those jobs?
So I have one question around that. Sometimes the job market needs X skills, and the individual would need some other skills to prove themselves, in the sense that they would not want to be for a classic example is, let's say, sales and marketing as a job. We know that more than 70-80% of the jobs out there are more business development, but a lot of students don't want to get into that kind of a work in many regions and countries, right? So knowing the fact that the current young breed of students are very self-aware and they're very critical on what they want, how do we really map this expectation? And I see this as a challenge across most of my client students. And
this is an excellent question. You see, my stance on this is that I always like to see my students pick up areas that they are passionate about. Because I believe, and a lot of research is also saying that when you are in an area that you resonate with, you're more likely to succeed, right? So even if the market is saying that you have to be in the field of sales, for example, if I'm not cut out for sales, I don't think I would be able to sustain my motivation and my drive for too long, right? For example, I did my electrical engineering, and I was a passionate engineer. So I really enjoyed electrical machines and enjoyed learning about transformers and gas turbines. But over the period of time that I worked in the manufacturing division, I learned that I gravitated more towards the people side. Because I felt that, that is where my contribution is going to make a difference. It was more meaningful for me to transform somebody's life, even if it's one advice that I may have given in HR, even if it's one person I recruited, right? I made a difference to somebody's life. That was far more profound for me as a person than improving the efficiency of a gas turbine, right? So I gravitated towards it, and that's my key learning for my students as well, that I want them to walk away with. I always tell them to be more of who they truly are.
And follow that.
And follow that. And try and find a niche within that. That's where creative thinking is required. Right? Students often make interdisciplinary course selections. So we have students in Murdoch University who are doing their undergrad in cybersecurity. But they're very interested in criminology. So they do double majors.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So they are making those combinations. They are actually figuring things out which align with their interest. And hopefully that's going to help them create a niche for themselves. Right?
Excellent.
So that's going to be my stance at it.
Great. So apart from the professional side of Uzma, what does Uzma do to wind down?
You see, there's so many things I do. I enjoy playing sports. It's something that my brother, my eldest brother, he's my mentor. He's really influenced me to be who I am. And he's really taught me to embrace sports as a way to remain focused, right? So I play badminton with my friends. I play paddle tennis. I've started to learn golf as well, right? So sports is a big part of who I am, and I would like to continue to nurture that, right? And the other part that I really enjoy, I enjoy reading a lot. So a good book, a quiet corner, maybe music in the background is something that I really cherish, and it helps me wind down.
Great. On a closing note, Uzma, I just have one question, or rather than a question, it's more like, 2 recommendations that you would like to give to, let's say, younger universities which are setting up in the region right now on how to do their corporate relationships and the employability piece really well. Like 2 recommendations you believe are crucial for the community in terms of setting it up for success.
The first one, I would say, know your craft, right? So it's very important when you go out to do your job, you have that sense of adequacy, right? Self-efficacy is very important. So have a career plan, and that's also something we do with our students. We sit down with them and we develop a career plan for them and say, okay, in the next 3 months, this is what I'm going to be focusing on. And in the next 1 year, this is what I will be focusing on. And that's based on my career aspiration. 10 years from now, this is where I want to be.
Right.
So do backward integration and bring yourself back to, gradually becoming proficient in your craft, whatever it may be. Yeah, that's the first thing. And the second thing is more on the personal side. The second advice that I always give to my students is be very confident, right? And seek ways by which you are building your confidence. Self-talk is a big part of it. So if you ever feel underconfident, you have to talk to yourself. There's nobody who can get into your system and transform you. But you can do it yourself very quickly. So one, know your craft very well, to be confident. Even if you make a mistake, you should be able to, address that and say, I did my very best. This is what I was hoping to achieve. I did not achieve this, but I've learned a lot from it. So don't be scared to make mistakes, but navigate your journey forward with utmost confidence. And in that confidence, learn to say no. Even if you have to say no to 90% of the things that come your way. Don't do it with guilt.
Great. So you would say any employability focused department should push their students to adopt these 2 aspects very clearly.
I would say. Okay. I'm sure there are many other ways of helping the students become employable. But to me, I think those 2 things are very, very critical.
I think that those are 2 strong key takeaways, because whenever I ask this question, it's mostly around, identify the industries, this and that, but you answered it from a student standpoint. So great, Uzma, it has been wonderful having you here, giving your nuggets of wisdom which you have accumulated across the past decades, and I think this has been a very genuine conversation around how we can get students to be more and more, I would say, more than employable, more become great citizens, and become people who are self-reliant. And I think the point that you mentioned around following your passion and trying to build it through and will help you stay focused and motivated, and you will find your path.
Absolutely.
So great, Uzma, and thank you once again, and best of luck for your future endeavors.
Thank you so much, my dear. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah.
And looking forward to many more collaborations in the future.
Yes. Thank you.